What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and you guys have been blowing up the channel recently. You guys are loving my strategy videos, the zero running back videos, the hero running back videos. You guys are all telling me in the comments, please do more of these strategy videos. So yesterday, I filmed the Bimodal running back strategy video where we went over that strategy, and then we did mock drafts from picks 1 through 4. And today we're going to be following that up with picks 5 through 8. We're going to be outlining what I'm thinking from each spot. We're going to go over different roster constructions from each spot. We're going to be doing 4 different mock drafts today. So sit tight, grab popcorn, your water, whatever you want to call it. Let's not waste any video. If you're new here, I've been seeing a lot of new viewers on the channel. Make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like. We're going to be dropping videos daily from now through week 1 through your championships. Let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm critical.
Now, just to give a brief recap of my strategy in fantasy football, I have about 3 tools in my toolbox. Strategies I can always fall back on no matter how I start. We have zero running back, where we punt a running back early, and then we hammer those running backs later on in the drafts, round 7, 8, 9. We just stack up on wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. We get our edges in those positions. Then we have anchor running back, where we go one running back early, hammer wide receivers, hammer running backs later on. Our last strategy is bimodal running back, where we start running back, and then we damn near punt RB3 all the way until round 10, 11, 12. And we're going to be making up our lack of wide receiver from rounds 3 through 7, 8, 9. Now, in all these strategies, the whole idea is we want to expose ourselves to league-winning running backs early, skip out on those dead zone running backs from rounds 3 through 6 for other positions. Those are the rounds where we really want to be grabbing wide receivers, and all of these strategies promote skipping out on those dead zone running backs and grabbing wide receivers in the rounds where it matters most. Now, for these mocks that we're going to be doing today, they're all going to be 12-team PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, and 7 bench. This is just the most common format. If you guys want to see something else, maybe I can throw in like a super flex or something, but that seems like the most common draft format for everyone, and most of these draft strategies can work in all formats, so we're just going to be using that for today. Now let's look at what we did from the 5 spot. At the 5th overall pick, if Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, if all these guys are gone, it's pretty easily Davante Adams for me, even in half PPR, because if you want to shoot for floor, I see a lot of guys, I just want to get that high floor running back. I want to go out there, grab Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry. Here's the problem. These running backs get hurt often. There's not actually any floor when it comes to running backs. This is a really cool article by Josh Hermsmeyer, a really smart guy over at RotoViz. He's over at like 538 now, but he talked about back in 2016 about how fragile running backs are. And I wanted to bring this up because this is a really cool study that he did. And he found that fantasy relevant top 70 positional ADP running backs are anywhere from 24 to 31% more likely to incur serious injury than fantasy relevant wide receivers that are also in that same range. Running backs drafted in the first 5 rounds are 200 to 360% more likely to suffer a serious injury than wide receivers. This is a huge reason why zero RB works as well as it does. When running backs go down and you've invested high draft capital in them, you stand a strong chance of losing 4 or more weeks of production. These running backs go down often. They get hurt a lot. When you have a bell cow, it's just such a violent position. When you slam them between the tackles and they're going out there, slamming their heads against other linebackers, they don't hold up. So we go out here, we secure our wide receiver 1 in Davante Adams, and I love doing that because we get a high floor from Davante Adams. We also get a huge, huge edge at wide receiver. Now, we come back around into round 2, and in this spot, I'm looking for, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. They both go off the board, so Antonio Gibson's my next best available. And this is where this is the perfect time to set up a hero RB build, because I love Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson in the 7th round as like clean hero running back guys that I think have that clear path to legendary upside. Now, I think that Mixon and CEH kind of fall into this category, but I have AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson over them. So, they're viable, but I'm not really aiming for those guys as my hero running back in the 2nd round. Then in the 3rd round, we go CeeDee Lamb, and he's just my best player available. Now, had he been off the board, I think something that would have been interesting as like a nice experiment, which is why you want to do mocks like this, is, we could have gone Swift. So Devontae Gibson Swift, I think, is a really interesting start that has kind of hero RB and bimodal RB type qualities, where you can get your elite wide receiver and you can hammer 2 running backs that both have RB1 upside. I think that Swift is one of the few guys in that round 3 range where I'm willing to take a swing on him because of his PPR upside because we know he's a stud. I love Swift in that range. So I think that this would have been interesting to look at had I gone Swift there, but we didn't. We go Devontae Adams, Antonio Gibson, CeeDee Lamb, come back around into the 4th round, and Godwin's an easy smash pick there. I love anyone in that tier of, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, all those guys. And then we come back around into the 5th round, and DJ Moore's just sitting there. That's another stud. So now we have our hero running back, and we have 4 stud wide receivers. Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore from our wide receiver 1 through our flex 2 spot is pretty. That's beautiful. Now, in that 6th round, we come back around, and I would have loved Hawkinson. I love going, especially in these hero RB builds, I love going with either an early tight end or an early quarterback. And in that 6th round, if Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson makes it to me in the 6th round, it's an auto pick every time. But we end up going Robbie Anderson because a tight end didn't get to me there, and we have to just pass on him. We have to pass. I'm not going to reach on a Russell Wilson. I'm not going to, obviously not reach on a Logan Thomas. And we don't want to force anything. Now, I will say, I just want to give like a little bit of a PSA. Don't be scared to pair like a Robbie Anderson and a DJ Moore. I think 2 pass catchers from the same team is absolutely fine. It's not a big deal. Like if you get to like 3 pass catchers, I think that's a problem. But 2 isn't a huge deal. We've been doing research in the offseason on stacking and stuff. Getting 2 wide receivers from the same team is actually a lot of the times plus EV for your team. Now, we have Robbie Anderson on our bench. We have 4 stud wide receivers, and that's fine. I know a lot of people out there, they get a little bit hesitant. Why are you using your 6th round pick on a guy who's going to be sitting on your bench? Remember, we know wide receivers are more stable. We know they're better bets in this range. We know this is the RB dead zone. We want to save up our wide receivers because injuries are going to hit. Bye weeks are going to hit. Players are going to bust. If you look at your drafts from last year, if you look at like the first 6 picks, half of them probably busted. So if we can get a lot of our draft capital in positions we know are a little bit more stable, are a little bit better in terms of win rates, we're going to get that edge on the margins. And injuries are going to be a problem. Buys are going to be, if you look at the week 7 buys, you're going to have a really tough problem in that week 7 range. So I don't mind stacking up our wide receivers like that. Then we come back around, and that's where we get Javonte Williams as our RB2. Now, people might say, that's a little bit too weak at RB2. Here's the problem, man. We pass on RB2s in rounds 3 through 6 because 1, they bust at a high rate, and 2, RB2s are really, really replaceable. We saw Cam Akers go down, Darrell Henderson, instant RB2 off waivers. When Michael Thomas goes down, Marcus Callaway, Traquan Smith just become appealing flyers. You feel hesitant to start those guys even in your flex despite what you think. Wide receiver is not replaceable. It isn't as replaceable as we think it is. Like I said, there is a new free score running back off waivers every week. Starting running back goes down. Okay, a new, Derrick Henry goes down. Darrington Evans is now viable off waivers as an easy RB2 you can start. If AJ Brown goes down, Josh Reynolds is now not some crazy must-start wide receiver. That's not how that works. So that's why we stack up these wide receivers and punt off RB2, because we can get RB2s off waivers that can match opposing production. And RB2 off waivers can match a Kareem Hunt, a Mike Davis, a Chase Edmonds, a Myles Gaskin, even a Darrell Henderson off waivers. You can match that production pretty easily or get pretty close to it while having advantages everywhere else on your team. Now, in the 7th round, it was tough because I did want to go with one of early quarterback or early tight end, and Russ was tempting, but I refuse to pass on Javonte in the 7th round. I just won't do it. I will not pass on Javonte in the 7th round. I think that he encapsulates everything that we want in one of these kinds of builds where it's hero RB, a little bit zero RB, where we want to just have a huge upside swing. And we have a round 2 running back who's very young coming out of school, who has a lot of factors coming up for him. The Miami Dolphins or the Broncos traded up for him. He has a really good prospect profile. He's also an ambiguous back where Melvin Gordon goes in the same range as him, but he's at the RB1. So he fits a lot of categories for breakout running backs, and I want to have him as my RB2 in a lot of these builds. Now, we passed on Russell Wilson there to get Javonte because obviously Javonte is a huge value, but I'm really starting to like the idea of just going really late at quarterback. You can see here, you can go Burrow, Tannehill, Jalen Hurts, and you can pair that with Fields or Lance. And I think that is going to almost match other people's QB1s. Once Fields and Lance are full-time starters, they're going to be top 6, top 8 quarterbacks. And after that 7th round pick, we lock in Laviska Shenault in the 8th round. And I think in the 8th round, he's an easy smash. I even like Michael Gallup in that range. And in a perfect world, we go 6 wide receivers through 8 rounds, no matter the build, just to really get those wide receivers locked in place. And that's what we did. I think that this is perfect through 8 rounds. Then we pound running back, quarterback, tight end, because that's what we're lacking in this build. So we go Sermon, we go Tony Pollard. Sermon's another great upside running back. He shouldn't be available in the 9th round, but he was. Then we go Tony Pollard, just an absolute upside swing. Hope that Ezekiel Elliott goes down. Now, we didn't grab a tight end, but I don't mind Dallas Goedert in the 11th round. I don't love missing out on these middle round tight ends, like a Hawkinson, Andrews, Kyle Pitts. But if you do, I don't mind grabbing the last of the tier with Goddard, Tanyan, Irv Smith, Noah Fant, Tyler Higbee, that kind of range of tight ends, because they're all decent. And you can pair them up like we did later on in the 15th round with a Gerald Everett, and then boom, you're looking decent at tight end. Everyone's going to kind of have a bad situation at tight ends because tight ends do get hurt a lot, just like running backs. And you're not really getting a huge edge at the position besides Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle. We also go with a Rondale Moore. We go with a Ty Johnson. So our running backs at running back 2, Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon, Tony Pollard, Ty Johnson isn't bad. Now, when I do these builds, I always kind of wish that I went with a PPR monster. We always want to have that high floor PPR guy. You want to be able to find guys like Nyheim Hines, J.D. McKissick, James White, Giovanni Bernard, all of those kinds of guys. You want to try and squeeze one of these guys into your builds because they're going to have a high floor in PPR leagues. But all in all, I don't mind this build at all. We also get Rondale Moore in the 13th round, which is kind of stupid, but it's not bad. I like that team. For a Hero RB team out of the 5 spot, I think that is the optimal way to go. Now, we go into the 6th spot here, and I promise not all of these are going to have Devontae Adams in the first. I know that this is now 2 drafts in a row where we go Devontae Adams in the first, but this is the range where I get him. In these picks 5 through 8, this is where I grab Devontae Adams. Like I said, he has a huge edge. He is my 104, so there isn't many situations where I won't take him. Now, later on in the video, we will just skip out on him to kind of see how it shakes out. But I wanted to show, instead of, a true Hero RB approach, this is kind of like a modified Hero RB approach where we go DeAndre Hopkins in the 2nd. Now, I love Antonio Gibson, but the 2 wide receivers I have ahead of Antonio Gibson are DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. So we go best player available. Again, I'm not going to be rigid. I'm not going to shove any draft strategy, any player down my throat, pause if needed, in round 2. So we grab D-Hop, and now we have 2 wide receivers where I'd be shocked if they finish outside the top 5 wide receivers. And that's a huge advantage. Remember, literally outside of CMC, Gurley, Kamara, those kinds of crazy running back seasons, wide receivers are providing as much as an advantage as running backs. There's this huge myth out there that every running back is more valuable than the wide receivers. Literally, the only running backs that have a leg up on wide receivers, top-end wide receivers, are those league-winning running backs. So outside of that one team that hits on a CMC, Kamara, Dalvin Cook, whoever it is this year, you are looking fine. And the only way that you're going to go out there and beat that team, if you don't find that running back, one of the 1 out of 12 teams, 2 out of 12 teams that find one of those running backs, the only way you beat them is by being stacked at every other position. And that's how you do it. You get 2 top 5 wide receivers. Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins in a PPR league are going to give you huge advantage. Now, we then have a weird situation where we have CEH fall into our laps here, and this is where we can get experimental. This is what I want to do in these strategy videos where we can improvise and kind of not be rigid. Again, Hero RB traditionally would be a running back in the first 2 rounds, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire to me on my draft rankings is a 2nd round running back. So we now get a 2nd round running back in the 3rd round, and we can just kind of take DeAndre Hopkins for free, act as if we got DeAndre Hopkins in the 3rd round, get CEH as if we got him in the 2nd round, and we can build around him as our hero running back. Now, I know people are kind of scared off of him by the ankle injury. I'm going to be honest, until they sign a veteran, I'm not super worried about it. I think that it's a little bit worrying, but I mean the 3rd round, I can't pass up on it. I can't. Now, we come back around, we grab DJ Moore. DJ Moore's just a smash pick, and this is about as thin at wide receiver as I'll get. We take 2 detours from wide receiver to get Kyle Pitts in round 5, who is just a crazy value in round 5. I have Kyle Pitts as like a 6th round value. And remember, we don't want to be rigid. And in the 6th round, I hated the value at wide receiver. I'm not going Chark there. I'm not going Cooks. I'm not grabbing Debo, Laviska Shenault. I'm not grabbing any of those guys in the 6th round. My 6th round wide receiver targets, if you can't get one of those guys to fall from like Chase Claypool, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, T. Higgins in the 6th round, my targets are Cortland Sutton and Robbie Anderson. And if I hate the wide receiver value, I'm not going to take one of the wide receivers. And Dak was sitting there, and why not get Dak? And I think that his injury is kind of blown out of proportion at this point. I saw a report from Stephania Bell. She's saying that pretty much Dak looks fine. So if you can get Dak Prescott, and apparently he's not injured at all, in the 6th round, that's a massive value. And we're now sitting pretty at every position. We are now stacked through every position besides running back 2. And that is the one position that we're completely fine with punting off. And we even bolster our flex. Now, our flex wasn't that strong through 6 rounds because we didn't have a flex yet. But we grab Laviska Shenault, we grab Michael Gallup. Those two as our flex is really strong. And a little cherry on top is you get a nice little backdoor stack. This is what you want to be doing. You get a nice little backdoor stack where Gallup to Dak Prescott. And if I go quarterback early, if I go quarterback in the first 6 rounds, 7 rounds, I want to have that quarterback stacked. We want to correlate our upside. If you have Dak Prescott and Michael Gallup, if that offense goes crazy this year, their ceilings are correlated. If Dak Prescott has a quarterback 1 season, then we can also assume that Michael Gallup has a fringe top 24 season at worst. So when you correlate your ceiling like that, you don't have to make as many correct bets. Both of those guys hit their ceiling on the same pathway. So if you can get your quarterback correlated to one of your wide receivers, that's what you want to do, especially if you grab that quarterback early. Then once we come back around into the 9th round, it's time to hammer running back too. So we go Trey Sermon. Again, I have a round 7 rank on him. So him being a 9th round pick is just dumb value. And he's everything we want from an upside running back. He's a rookie running back. He's on a team that scores a lot of points. And now to everyone that wants to tell me that you can get wide receivers late, that wide receivers are available late, not running backs. Once it hits round 9, look at the screen right now. Once it hits round 9, what's available? What is available? What is there more blue or green in the first from rounds 9 through 15? If you look at it, it's mostly running backs. It is more running backs than it is wide receiver. And if you look at rounds 1 through 8, there's more wide receivers than running backs. So this idea that there's so many wide receivers late and you can wait on wide receiver, it's false. It's false. There might be a lot of them from rounds 1 through 8 or a lot of them from rounds 5 through 8, but you only have 1 pick every round. So no matter how deep it is, if everyone's taking a wide receiver a majority of the time in those rounds, you're not getting the value of the position being late. Now, we are now in a spot where running backs are flying off the board. There's plenty of them to choose from. Now we go with another 0 running back candidate that I love, AJ Dillon. Be on the lookout. I'm probably going to do like a sleeper video where I go over a lot of my favorite 0 running back, targets. And AJ Dillon's really good. He is a really good running back. He has this Derrick Henry type build, and we want that in the 12th round. We don't need a guy that can catch a ton of passes because AJ Dillon, if he hits like 16 points per game, he will have like a 20% win rate. And he's going to probably get like 12 touches a game. He's going to have, low end RB, like probably like RB3 type weeks, RB2 type weeks. He's going to have 12 touches a game and he could score touchdowns. He could be the goal line back just off of his size. And on top of that, I think that there is a scenario where we can look at AJ Dillon's upside outside of an Aaron Jones injury, where if they're the Green Bay Packers and there's a 17-game season and Aaron Jones is one of their biggest playmakers, we could see games where they're up 20 points in the 4th quarter and they just salt away games late and let him chew the clock and give it just let AJ Dillon pound the ball in that cold weather. There is a chance that AJ Dillon could just have games against bad teams where he goes crazy, like he did against the Titans last year. Now, we only go 5 wide receivers in 8 through 8 rounds, so that's when we're going to dip back on wide receivers late. So we grab our rookie wide receivers. We're hoping that we hit on this year's Claypool, T. Higgins, Ayuk, whatever you want to call it. We grab Elijah Moore in the 11th. To be honest, I doubt he's available in the 11th in your league. Then we go in the 12th round. We grab Giovanni Bernard. Again, we want to have that nice PPR floor. I love mixing in a Giovanni Bernard into one of these teams. I have him over Leonard Fournette. I think he's going to be this year's Nyheim Hines on a top 5 scoring offense. And then we grab Rondale Moore at just like a stupid value just because it's stupid value. I can't pass on him in the 13th round. And then we grab, 2 of whoever your favorite late round running backs are. We go Damian Williams, Ty Johnson, and those are going to be 2 spots where we churn out roster spots. If they don't flash in week 1, we will be submitting claims for whoever like the hot RB off waivers is, and we're going to churn out the bottom of your bench. I'm telling you guys, you want to be making a lot of transactions in fantasy football so you can find that next RB2. Now, I want to be clear. I'm doing these videos to show you guys roster construction strategy, what's going through my head. In an actual draft, you're not going to have Elijah Moore be there in the 11th or Rondale Moore be there in the 13th. You're not going to see CEH in round 3. Not a lot of these things are going to be happening in a lot of your drafts. I'm just doing these to show roster construction. I'm telling you guys, if you want to go out there and actually practice so you can go out there and dominate your league, don't just run up CPU mocks or mocks on Sleeper with no money on the line where people auto pick or just make stupid picks because it's a free league. They can do whatever they want. They're going to be getting really experimental as well. If you want to actually dominate your draft, go on Underdog Fantasy, use promo code RON when you deposit $10 for a $25 bonus for free. For $10, you can get 7 $5 drafts to try out one of Bimodal RB, Anchor RB, Hero RB. You can try all 3 strategies 2 times over in actual live drafts with money on the line so you can practice without having to worry about people auto-picking, people not caring. And on top of that, because it's best ball and they just tally up the best lineup every week, you don't have to then manage that team in season. You can just get these drafts done, like practice mock drafts. And then even on top of that, if you win your league, you can make some money off of that. Literally for $10, you can go out there and experiment. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't tried these strategies before in an actual league, it helps a lot to go out there in best ball leagues on Underdog Fantasy Football and go out there and really get experimental and try out these strategies before you actually have to do it in your home league. Now, again, make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy. And when you deposit $10, use promo code RON for a $25 bonus. So now we're going out of the 7 spot, and I promise this is the last mock with Davante Adams in the first, and I wanted to just show a true 0 running back start again. We go Davante Adams, DeAndre Hopkins again. This time we go CeeDee Lamb in round 3, and we hammer wide receivers through round 5. There was just too much value. And again, we want 6 wide receivers through 8 rounds, so this gives us that flexibility on our next 3 picks to do whatever we want, go in whatever direction we want. DJ Moore was a value in the 4th, T. Higgins was a value in the 5th, and in the 6th round, I'm not passing up on Lamar Jackson. 6th round, Lamar Jackson. In the 6th round, if I get to the 6th round and Lamar, Kyler, TJ Hawkinson, or Mark Andrews are there, it is an auto pick every single time. So Lamar in the 6th is just stupid. We scoop that up regardless of the stacks. And then Javonte falls to us in the 7th. Javonte Williams in the 7th round is the dream RB1 in a 0 RB build. He gives us that real shot at RB1 upside, and then we finish off our wide receiver core with a Michael Gallup, and then that's it. We get him in the 8th. We now have 6 wide receivers through 8 rounds. That's all we need. Now, in the 907, you can take your flavor of running back, whether that's James Conner, A.J. Dillon, whoever you want. I personally went with Zach Moss. So now we have Zach Moss, Javonte Williams as our running backs. Those guys are startable. Those guys are fringe RB2, RB3 kind of guys. They're going to be startable. And again, it doesn't feel great starting those guys, but you now have, okay, so instead of your flex being, your flex is usually going to be RB2, RB3s, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3s. Instead of your flex being that, your flex is now CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. You now have CeeDee Lamb, who's a top 10 wide receiver in your flex, and you have a top 15 wide receiver in DJ Moore in your flex. Again, I can't say this enough. You are foregoing the value at your running back position to put it into the flex spot. So we then go with Tony Pollard, who's just an upside swing, we hope. I mean, we don't hope, but if Zeke goes down, Tony Pollard would be a legit top 8 running back in fantasy. Now, in this build, in a 0 RB build, in a true 0 RB build, we kind of want to go both early quarterback and early tight end, but we couldn't go early tight end. Sometimes things don't happen the way you want them to, so we just punt tight end, and we punted tight ends a little bit too far for my liking here, but I like, waiting until round 10. After Kelsey through Andrews, I'm waiting until round 10, and I'm grabbing one of Tanyan, Goddard, Fant, Irv, and we got sniped on Tanyan, so I went Higbee. I don't think that Higbee is great, but he'll do in that spot. We'll just grab another one later, and we come around and grab Sony Michel, because I think Sony Michel is a really interesting 0 RB pick if he's going to be going in this like 10 to 12 round range, because Sony Michel has been efficient in New England. He hasn't gotten the volume, but he's been really efficient. He was a first round pick, and McVay hasn't committed to Henderson. After 1 year, they replaced Henderson with a second round draft pick the year after, and now it looked like wheels up for Darrell Henderson, and then they go out and they trade for a running back without just letting him be the true workhorse. So there are some concerns there. Sony Michel is a great stab at a backfield that's going to provide a lot of points. Then we come around in the 13th, and we double up at running back. We get Gerald Everett, who I think could be literally this year's Robert Tonyan, where he just scores a lot of touchdowns on the back of Russell Wilson's really good efficiency stats, because Russell Wilson's going to throw for 30 touchdowns regardless, and Gerald Everett could just be a guy who scores 8, 9 touchdowns at the tight end position. So I really do like him as my second tight end in a lot of these builds where I wait on tight end a long time. Then we go Darrington Evans, Ty Johnson, and you can just go whatever you want at running back at the end, whoever your favorite 2 flyers are, because those guys are going to be the ones where you hope that they flash in week 1, and if they don't, they're going to be the first guys on the chopping block when you need to be going out there picking up your free square running backs off waivers. Finally, we do not go Davante Adams. This is going to be a mock draft from the 8th spot, and this is going to be a high testosterone draft. We go 2 running backs right off the bat, and I love going Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones has legit legendary upside. I think that he could catch 70, 80 balls in that offense, because now Jamal Williams is gone. It frees up a lot of receptions to the running back position. This is going to be an offense that scores a lot of points, and Aaron Jones could lead the league in touchdowns, and he could get 80 to 90 receptions. So I do love me some Aaron Jones. As soon as Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs are gone, I love Aaron Jones. Then we come back around, we grab Antonio Gibson, and I do have D-Hop as my next highest player, and I do like Calvin Ridley, but I wanted to show, for the sake of the video, what it looks like with Bimodal RB here, because I still like Antonio Gibson at the 205. I think I still have him as like my 205. I just have D-Hop and Calvin Ridley higher than consensus. And these guys are both guys with legendary upside in their range of outcomes, and that's what we're chasing. They both catch passes. They're both really talented at football, and we could easily see one of the two have a top 2 to 3 RB season. Now, once you grab those 2 running backs, I cannot stress this enough. It's time to rip the wide receivers. We go CeeDee Lamb, we come back around, and we go Amari Cooper. Now, I don't love getting 2 like top wide receivers like that, but I have them both valued as like early to mid thirds, and when you can get CeeDee Lamb in the late third and you can get Amari Cooper in the early to mid fourth, that has to happen. Then we come back around. Higgins is an auto pick every time he's there in the 5th. Now, if Hawkinson or Andrews are available in the 6th, like I said, I'm usually grabbing them. So we go out there and we grab Mark Andrews. And I kind of like Mark Andrews in the 6th because with Rashad Bateman dealing with injury, with Marquise Brown dealing with injury, we could see Mark Andrews be the number 1 option in this passing offense. And he could just score, 10 plus touchdowns. He could score 10, 11, 12 touchdowns in this offense. And that's the upside that I want to chase at the tight end position. We're like 1 season removed from Mark Andrews being a stud tight end that was kind of in the upper echelon, almost in where Waller and Kittle are going right now. So I'll buy that discount. Then we come back around to the 7th, 8th round. Chenault and Gallup are automatic in that range. So now we have 2 stud running backs. We have a solid wide receiver core through our flex spot and a stud tight end. I really like this build because now we're really solid. We're really balanced. We have the running back upside. We have the wide receivers. We have tight end. And if I'm going to punt any position, I'd really rather punt quarterback than anything else in terms of quarterback or tight end, like in the onesie positions. I'd rather punt quarterback. So then we come around in the 9th round and we grab James Conner. I'm down to get a little bit more thin at RB3, but I don't mind James Conner in this range because there's nothing crazy at wide receiver. And we can grab James Conner here. And we know he's just going to give us reliable weeks. So when Aaron Jones is on bye, when Antonio Gibson's on bye, if any of them get hurt for a few games, James Conner is a great guy that can just come in as a spot start. Now, I feel like I've grabbed Tony Pollard on every single one of these teams, but if he's going to be there in the 10th round, especially on a build like this where I don't need Pollard to play. We do not need Pollard to play anytime soon. So we grab him on our bench and we hope for the best. We hope that he gets a role. Zeke maybe goes down for a few games. We hope that Pollard eventually emerges in that backfield. Now, we then go Elijah Moore. That gives us a little bit more wide receiver depth. I usually like to go, like I say, 6 wide receivers through 8 rounds. This is 5 wide receivers through 8 rounds, so I don't mind stacking a little bit more wide receiver depth. Then we go with a Giovanni Bernard, who gives us some of that nice PPR floor just as a safety valve in case things go wrong at running back. We can put him in there, hope for the best. And at this point, we're now in the 13th round. We still don't have a running back, or we still don't have a quarterback. And Jalen Hurts is still available. Now, this isn't just Fantasy Pros being stupid. I think that a lot of these picks are, Elijah Moore shouldn't be there. Rondell Moore shouldn't be there in the 14th. I've seen actual drafts. I had a draft of the Fantasy Stock Exchange boys. I regretted taking Russell Wilson in the 7th because quarterbacks were just available late. Quarterbacks that we really like. You can get, like I said, you can get a Jalen Hurts, a Joe Burrow, or Ryan Tannehill past the 10th round and just pair that up with a Fields or a Trey Lance, and you're good to go at quarterback. So we grab Fields, we grab Jalen Hurts. We now have the firepower at running back. We have the firepower at quarterback. We're literally stacked across every position. I really like the way that this team came out in the 8th spot. That's beautiful. Now, that's going to do it for us today. Now, if you like the way that these teams came out, my rankings on patreon.com/Ron Stewart encourage this kind of drafting. I have my early running backs pushed all the way up to the top, rounds 1 and 2. I then have my wide receivers in those middle rounds where the running back dead zone is, and then I have my running backs late pushed up. So you're not taking, flyers on guys like Gabriel Davis or McCole Hardman. You don't want to have to start those guys ever. So I have it all set up so it's optimized based on historical trends, and I think that it's a really solid guide. Not only that, but I have my top 250 in Superflex and 1QB. It's all tiered across the board. And on top of that, for literally $5, you not only get my rankings, you can get access to a one-on-one Discord channel where you can ask me exclusive questions, get fantasy advice on trades, on waiver wire pickups, rest of season rankings, all of that and more, all just for $5. I'm telling you guys, don't go out there and spend $25 on someone's draft guide that they copy and pasted off Fantasy Pros. I'm telling you, this is the best deal in all of fantasy football. And be on the lookout. I think this is going to be on Sunday or Monday. I'll be putting out a part 3 where we go from picks 9 through 12. We do a couple different draft strategies. Now, I was going to ask, you guys want me to keep doing these on Fantasy Pro? Should I switch it up and go on Sleeper? I can only do these against the AI because it would take me so long to do this in actual live drafts. I'll be honest, the ADP is kind of stupid on both, but that's kind of what we're working with here. This is more for roster construction and what's going through my head anyways at the end of the day. Now, that's going to do it for us today. You guys have been absolutely killing it on the channel. I cannot say this enough, man. Thank you guys so much. I've never seen so much love on this channel before. The algorithm has been very kind to me. You guys have been very kind to me on the like button, on subscribe button. In the comments, you guys have been all just telling me I'm killing it right now. It's just been surreal these past 2 weeks, man. So I want to say Thank you guys so much. And if you're new here, make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like, because I'm going to be pumping out content daily for you guys. You guys have shown that I need to be pumping out content daily because you guys love it. So if you guys appreciate this content, I owe it to you guys to give you everything I got. I'm going to be going daily. I might even do some double uploads next week. We'll see. Might even get a little bit crazy there. Now, as always, you can follow me at @RonStore_ on Twitter. I love you guys. Truly, truly do love you guys. And that's going to do it for today. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yup. 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 Yup.